All right, we're live. Good evening and welcome to the first remote and global demo night of the year. We're representing an awful lot of different things here. We're like little United Nations all together. So I'm going to ask you guys in a sec to introduce yourselves and say which country you're from originally and which country you're actually sat in right now. We'll see how this one goes. To everybody who's watching, there's a Mentimeter which you'll be able to gain access to in a second, and you'll be able to do your voting and the other things as we go along through. Remote and global means so many different lenses coming together at once, and we're really looking forward to seeing what happens here with Kasper and Sajita as our guest judges for the evening. Good luck to all of you as we go through, and I wonder who will become the People's Choice favourite today, voted by Kasper and Sajita. Let's see what happens. All right, so I'm Stuart, I'm your host for the evening. Kasper, Sajita, why don't you introduce yourselves? Who are you?
Yeah, I can start. So I'm Kasper. I'm the founder of Synchro Social. We're a social media marketing agency servicing a lot of high-end top coaches and thought leaders around the world. Currently sat in Miami, Florida, but originally from Finland. So a little bit of a weather difference, so to say.
I tell you must have been in the US as well. That's an incredibly non-Finnish accent you've got going on there. It's amazing, Kasper. Thank you for joining us and bringing your lens today.
Thank you.
And Sajita, who are you?
I'm Sujita, so I work for Ripple as a cybersecurity expert, and I'm an MBA candidate at Cornell. I mostly work on blockchain security and protecting digital assets.
And what's your original country, Sajita?
I'm from USA, San Francisco.
Fantastic. Great to have you. Thank you very much. All right. Well, I'm Stuart. I'm originally British, but very confused because I spent a bit of time in Bangalore, a bit of time in Boston, a bit of time in Lisbon, and about 16 other countries doing my different things. So I'll try and bring my confuddled lenses to this as well. But the main lead will be from you, Kasper, and from you, Sajita. Okay, let's get this up and everybody being able to see what's going on. Okay, so let's start with a little test. Can you guys get to the Mentimeter and put in here what are you doing today? And then anybody who's in the audience looking at this live, obviously if it's a recording you're watching, then you can't do this, but you can also go to thementi.com, put in that code 29220535, and you can also gain access to these slides. All right, so let's check that this works. And this is where any voting will be done later as well. This will remain open for up to 2 days after the live edition for extra recording, and then we'll announce who was the People's Choice at some point, probably tomorrow.
Okay.
All right, so each demo is going to have 5 minutes, and then 5 minutes questions and reflections from Kasper and Sajita, okay? All right, and our third judge has just arrived. Okay, my friend, before we get too carried away, let's get your introduction. Who are you, my friend? Tell everybody who you are, where you are, and what you're doing. My friend from Netflix, how are you doing?
Hey, folks.
There you go. Brilliant. Yeah, you'd be kind enough to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I wasn't sure who was going first. I'm Anirudh. I'm a staff software engineer for Playback Backend at Netflix. And I've been here for a little more than 3 years. And I've played a key role in launching live streaming and dynamic ad insertion at Netflix. And excited to see all the demos here.
Brilliant to have you here today. Thank you very much for bringing your lens as well. Between the three of you, it's going to be a crazy amount of feedback that you give. And I thank you for nurturing these founders on their journey. All right, so hopefully we've got the Mentimeter thing working. Let's see. And Vicky and Charlene, are you ready to do your particular piece?
Yes.
Okay, so you just tell me when you want me to click forward. I'll get the 5 minutes going. And remember, this is demo night. You don't have to be perfect. You know, being here is part of it, and then learning from the experience is the next part, right? So what this feedback happens, it's going to be like a learning loop. But this doesn't have to be the most uber professional thing you've ever done in your life with super slick timings. It's all good. Okay, so over to you.
Right, ready? Yeah.
Ready.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Before we introduce Role Resolve and how it works, we want to share what we're hoping to take away from today. We're looking for two things. First, 2 or 3 funded pilot partners, ideally specialist schools, alternative provisions, or neurodiversity-informed settings. And secondly, strategic introductions to people who commission, fund, or influence early mental health support for young people. Role Resolve is ready to scale, and our priority is reaching young people early before they reach crisis point.
So hello, I'm Vicky, and that was Charlene, who you just heard from. We are both qualified psychotherapists and co-founders of Role Resolve Psychotherapy, which is a social enterprise based in Derby. We support adolescents' mental health and social emotional learning, which we do from combining storytelling, creativity, and tabletop roleplay games. Slide.
Adolescent mental health is in crisis. Globally, 1 in 7 young people are navigating mental health difficulties. In the UK, that's 1 in 5. And for neurodivergent young people, this is further exacerbated. Around 70% of neurodivergent adolescents are navigating and struggling with ongoing mental health difficulties. And they're facing barriers in support because services aren't designed in a way that communicates, that helps them to regulate or understands how they experience the world. And what we're seeing is a wider pattern. Anxiety, isolation, low self-worth are becoming increasingly common part of the adolescent experience. So this highlights a gap between what young people's needs are and the support that's available. It's inaccessible, it isn't relational or safe. And this is why early intervention matters, and specifically neuro-inclusive and engaging. So the support that young people receive feels meaningful.
Slide. Role Resolve exists because of who we are. Well, so as I said earlier, we're both qualified psychotherapists, and we both bring lived neurodivergent experiences. So we also understand how to build and sustain services in the real world due to our previous commercial backgrounds. We do this by combining I'm going to start again with that. The combination that we bring is rare, and it matters because we know how to hold risk and safeguarding responsibly. We work relationally with complex needs with adolescents, and we have experience in business and generating sustainable revenue streams. We're applying professional judgment, lived understanding, and commercial realism to bring together and help a real world problem. So when people invest in Role Resolve, they're backing experienced practitioners who can deliver safely, adapt intelligently, and scale with integrity. Slide.
The need is urgent and early intervention is critical. When young people don't receive timely support, it exacerbates problems, and this puts pressure on family, on school, and specialist services. Our intervention has been piloted and refined. Our session structure, our stories, and our facilitation framework has been working well in practice, and we've been running it for over a year. At this point, the main barrier isn't the demand. We've got so many young people who need our services. It's capacity and funding. Next slide.
So this is our demo. It's silent because we're going to talk over it because it's the only way that we can demonstrate what we do. It should be silent. Yeah. So I'll walk you through it. So Role Resolve uses therapeutic tabletop roleplay games that can be known as TTRPGs. If you know what Dungeons and Dragons is, you may have an idea of the concept. However, we use the mechanics of that, but we have a bespoke system which we've created ourselves, and it's designed to have therapeutic outcomes. Step 1 is we work with small groups of 4 to 6 people. Generally, that's done on their needs and support. We do this because it creates a psychological safety with the small settings. Our step 2 is to have a character creation session. And we do this where each young person designs and builds their own character that they will use within the game. They do this by choosing strengths, challenges, values, and emotions, and they get different levels of dice throws regarding what emotions they use. So not only are they exploring their identity and confidence, they're doing it through a character which creates a distance, and we do this because it doesn't for direct self-disclosure.
We then guide the group through a shared interactive narrative. So within the story, we introduce carefully designed challenges that support the development of their emotional and social skills, and it cultivates a sense of belonging. So rather than asking them directly, how do you feel, they learn these skills through their character in the story. So young people are playing, but they're developing these skills at the same time so then they can translate them into real world settings. So the story creates enough of a distance for them to reflect, but also to learn through the experience as well. Vicky.
Slide. So we'll finish off where we began, and what we were asking for is 2 to 3 funded pilot partnerships to deliver role resolve at scale and to gather robust impact data. And we're also looking for strategic introductions to commissioners, specialists and alternative provisions and community organisations who are looking for early intervention solutions. If this resonates and you can open any doors, then we would love to talk after today's demo.
All right, well done indeed. You're a little bit over time, but congratulations, we well navigated. So I'm going to go to Kasper first for the reflection and question, then Sajita, and then we'll finish with a Netflix lens at the end. Okay, so Kasper, what do you think about this, and what questions do you want to ask these two?
Yeah, I mean, the first question came from like a financial standpoint. So when it comes to clients paying, are they paying like out of pocket? Is this kind of like, are you doing some sort of a partnership with NHS? Like, how would this work?
So I've just partnered with a private school where I'm a contract counsellor. So the school provides the room, and I have clients who are either staff or students. They self-fund, so whether that comes from themselves or parents, and I have 2 contracts where either the students or the parents get that. In regards to the tabletop role play, that is something that we're currently working on, and we're going to be introducing that within the private school, where that's a higher price than therapy, because we work with 4 to 6 people, so it'd be dependent on how many we have. And then in regards to taking that to mainstream and community settings, we're hoping to do that on a sliding scale through our CIC, where we would do some match funding to ensure that we still get paid and they can still invest in us. And we're also we're getting trained on empathy circles at the minute, which will be opening up into all different settings. And Charlene's been working on some corporate interventions at the moment as well.
Yeah, because what came to mind as well when you mentioned corporate was like, I think this has like a wide variety of uses. Like it can be more like B2C, but then you can also work with, for example, work with teams inside of companies. And I can kind of like see the diversity. So I think that's smart. And I think it also makes it maybe the traditional form of like talk therapy. There's maybe a higher barrier of entry. Like people feel like maybe this is not for me, but you're introducing something like, a little bit of fun and like a game to it. So I like that aspect personally.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Sajita, what's your view on this one? What's your reflection and question?
Yeah, thank you so much for your presentation today, and it's definitely a wonderful topic pick, and it's with a good intention actually, and many moms are suffering with such kind of help they need. And in many countries, it has been a taboo that they cannot speak out about their children, and it's a very good intention, and really appreciate your take. So, what's your plan for the expansion on this? Like, do you plan only for the UK, or do you plan to expand your plan to different countries?
We do plan to expand. Sorry, go on, I'll let you go.
Basically, where the process we're sort of where the scale is that we're starting in sort of like the Midlands, where we are at the moment. It's for the middle of the UK. Going to expand. So we're looking at sort of forming a model, which then will be replicable throughout the UK, and then with a view to expand internationally as well. So we've
already networked and sort of like got in contact with some people who are doing similar things to what we're doing, but they do use material that's already out there. But as we do write our own stories, we've partnered with the university to get students to publish our books, so we can get them done as an unpaid internship, so we can generate revenue through that. And then if we can partner with other universities, because we've also partnered with counselling students as well, and that's something that we'd continue to do through the UK, and the people who we've connected with in America, hopefully we'll get in a position where we can then give them our system and get some feedback and trial it in different countries. And so, yeah, that would be one direction.
Excellent. And I wish you a huge success in this.
Thank you.
I think we're starting to see this kind of thing around scale, right? It's like, how does this scale beyond the two of you? How does this scale beyond the time that you have available and really become something big? Because if it does that, and you can reach so many more people rather than get stuck in just what the two of you can handle. But we'll come to that in a sec. So Netflix reflections, what have you got for this one?
Yeah, I mean, just my personal reflections, not representing the company here.
Of course.
But yeah, I think it's a cool idea. I think it's definitely an important problem that you're trying to solve. You also did a good job talking about why you are the right people to solve this problem. I also like the fact that it's an important problem and your solution has a personal touch. You're not just throwing AI at the problem and hoping everything works out. I was curious about the group therapy, and have you thought about how you would build comfort in that scenario where the group might not know each other, and how you would handle the privacy aspect of therapy with different people in a group settings?
At the moment, it's more therapeutic than therapy. So the people who are going to be joining the group are going, so from a school perspective, they will be within the same educational environment, and also in sort of like the healthcare settings, they will know of each other. So as a first instance, like just the therapeutic. In terms of that, the initial icebreakers, invariably, you have a group of people who don't know each other. And so we do icebreakers. So that's where we do the character creation. So we do the one-on-one. So there's always two facilitators to 4 to 6 people. So there is that additional support already built in. And so we sit and work on the characters together, but also then we do something called roll and tell, where we just do some ice-breaking questions and just go around the room. And we obviously include ourselves in this as well. And at the end, so we have that initial section, 6 sessions of the role play, and then a reflection session at the end. And what we're also doing going forward is we're building measurement tools into there to basically see how it impacts everybody either way, which at the moment has been all about testimonials, so which have been really, really valuable and impactful. But yeah, so it's sort of, and that's the whole point of what we're doing, is getting a group of people who are more often than not have difficulties with social connection, and helping to build those bridges of socialization and connection, which has worked with young people we've worked with. They're now friends outside that room.
Wonderful. Yeah, I like Kasper's idea of thinking in the B2B direction. I think these could also be used as like a team building exercise of a group that already has some comfort with each other. And good to think about how you can scale this, but still not lose the quality and that personal touch.
Absolutely. I think also I'm thinking conflict resolution as well as a potential, because especially when you can sort of build it into a story and people can play characters, and it's that safe space for them to play out whatever issues they have without it being a direct conflict. So yeah, that's in mind as well.
All right, fantastic. I'm going to call time on that. I think as a bit of a reflection on your road to the 26th, something we do in the coaching comes to mind, which is, I'm sorry I wrote you a long letter. I didn't have time to write you a short one. And you're going to have to manage your time really effectively on the 26th. Okay, so just think, how do you bring it in? How do you defer things to another time? And how do you keep it punchy to the time you're going to have on the 26th?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. Vinetta, it's going to be over to you for the next one. You try and keep a bit more to that 10-minute box for me. Okay, Vinetta?
All right.
I know you can do it. I know you can do it.
I know it's not going to be that long. Wasn't this the second slide?
Oh, let me see if I can work that back. today, it may very well be the first slide. Which one is
this
it?
should be the first one about
This
me.
should be the
Should
first
be
one.
the
Okay.
first one, yeah. So let me just introduce myself. My name is Venata, and I used to study fashion design for 4 years. And as you can see in the pictures, back in the days, my days used to look like that, full of design ideas, fabrics, sketches. And currently, I'm a third-year accounting and finance student. And my days are full of spreadsheets, numbers, and calculations. And as much as I enjoyed studying fashion, it also opened my eyes to the darker side of the industry. Next slide. And let's look at today's fashion industry. Behind all that glamour and beauty lies an industry that's one of the most polluting in the world, driven by overconsumption and unethical practices. As you can see, average person buys 60% more clothing than they did 15 years ago. And that comes at a cost because right now fashion accounts for 10% of global carbon emissions, which is more than all international flights and maritime shipping combined. And there is also a human cost, such as child labor. But what's interesting is that 60% of consumers say they would like to buy more sustainable fashion. They just lack the time and knowledge to do so. So that means that people would like to change. They just don't know how. And that's exactly where MyVibe comes in. Next slide. That's not the next one. Yes, this one. I see MyVibe as the future of sustainable and personalized fashion. We provide personalized subscription boxes that include clothing and accessories tailored to each customer's unique lifestyle and preferences. You can think of it as a mix between personal stylist and sustainability expert, all wrapped into one experience that's ethical, convenient, and exciting. And our main target market are busy professionals who wants to look good. They just don't have time to do so. So we offer two types of boxes: essential box and premium box. Next slide. How it works, it's very simple. First, customers book a style quiz or video consultation with a stylist, and based on their preferences, we create monthly subscription box with clothing and accessories. The box is a surprise box, so they don't know what's inside the box until they open it. And each box is tailored to their lifestyle, made from sustainable and ethically sourced brands, and built to mix and match effortlessly. And customers keep what they love and they return the rest. And all returns are refurbished, resold, or recycled, creating that closed loop fashion system. And at MyVibe, we're not just selling clothes, we're redesigning the way how people consume fashion, one sustainable and ethically sourced box at a time. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Well done to you. Okay, let's go to Sajita for the first question and reflection, and then we'll go to Kasper, and then we'll finish again with our Netflix perspective.
Thank you so much for your presentation today, and it's wonderful to see this idea. So how do you manage the returns, fit, or any issues that customers have? Like, how do you scale that?
How would I scale it? Because I haven't really launched it yet. This is just in idea. So the returns would be just a regular returns. In the box they would receive a bag with a prepaid returned, and whatever they don't like, they would just send it back to us and we could deal with that.
I mean, Sajita, this is the killer question, right? Because this is what kills every retail kind of box thing, is how much comes back to you and what do you do with that? That process can kill the profit margins completely.
Yes. And also, like, whom do you think your main competitors, and what would be your defensible strategy for that?
My main competitors, like here in UK, there's another subscription box called Lucchero, but what differentiates us from them is like they're not that much focused on ethically sourced or sustainable materials, but our main focus would be on that. So hopefully they wouldn't be our competitors anymore once our customers consider that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Kasper, what have you got with this one? How does this fit with your social media brain?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about it from the money perspective again. I'm wondering how you came to kind of like $295 and $495, and where does that pricing come from? Like, how much of it is that like the actual pricing of the clothing, and how much of it is like profit or like just like no expenses for you, and like the charge that you take?
So initially, I thought the price could be a little lower, but then looking at those ethical brands or sustainable clothing brands, they are a little bit pricey. So I had to increase the price of the boxes, and each box would include like 5, 6, 7 items. So altogether, that would come to the number, even if it seems that high, but that's why our target market is busy professionals. They would be in higher tax brackets, so they wouldn't see it as a problem.
Yeah, I would say that for me, on the contrary, the price seems a little low for especially if you have sustainable and ethical clothing, because the pricing points can usually be a little bit higher for that. So I'm wondering, like, what I would particularly be considering is like retention wise. Like, for example, what do you need to have like the lifetime value for each single customer for it to be profitable? Because I'm assuming that, if you're spending money on marketing and ads to get new customers, and if a customer only stays on for 1 to 2 months for the subscription box, then I'm not sure if you would have a positive ROI on that. So that's just kind of like what I would pay attention to, especially when it's a monthly subscription box. But overall, like, I think the world is moving into a direction where people are more and more paying attention to, like, instead of fast fashion, paying attention to sustainability and the ethics of where you're sourcing your clothing from. So I think it's a needed idea.
Thank you.
All right, bring us home. What is the not Netflix but personal contribution to this?
Anirudh's perspective. So I have the opposite view as Kasper. As thinking as a customer, it feels expensive. £300 and £500 a month. And I feel like, so looking at competitors, there's a company called Stitch Fix in the US, which does $20 boxes, and you get like 5 items of clothing. So the competitive landscape is, I don't know if something like this exists in the UK, but the pricing for competition is fairly low. And I feel like there is some tension in the two goals. The people who care about sustainability may not be spending £500 on clothes every month. They would want to make them last. And I think maybe just my personal view, but I feel like if you're spending that kind of money on clothing, you may not want like refurbished clothes that someone has worn. If I was a sustainability minded person and I was really interested in fashion, I would just keep my clothes for longer. So I feel like there's tension in these two goals, and you might run into that as you try to sell this to people.
I see your point. And first, the refurbished clothes, we wouldn't be selling refurbished clothes. We would be refurbishing them like somewhere else. So all our customers would get like new clothes. And the price wise, there's always two sides of everything. And like I couldn't really lower the price because the price is quite high for those ethically sourced brands. And the competitor that you were talking about, the Stitch Fix, they have lower prices, but they don't really, I feel like I can't really say that, but they don't really care where those items comes from. They don't really
I'm
do
sure
the
at that
feedback.
price, it's they don't care.
Yeah.
Okay, this one's super interesting to me. So before we move to Michael and Lucky, Vicky and Charlene, what would be your perspective on this? Would you pay £500 a month for a box of clothes to come to you? How would this work for you?
At the moment, no, because having just graduated not long ago, but I agree with what Vanessa says and actually Kasper said, is that for ethically, sustainably sourced clothing from reputable clothing providers, it is expensive because at the end of the day, it's limited production because you're paying for something that is more sustainable, that's better made, that probably will last for a lot longer. So at this moment in time, no, I wouldn't, because I just couldn't afford to do it because I'm not in that higher tax bracket at the moment. However, in the future, definitely, because it's what I've looked into, but at the moment it's just cost prohibitive. But I think, and I agree, I think it is the way forward. And sort of, that people are a lot more conscious with what they're consuming generally.
Thanks for that. What about you, Vicky? What's your reflection?
For me, I think it's a phenomenal idea. I love the idea of the sustainability that sits with what Vanessa's doing. For me, I need to see what I'm purchasing, and I believe that there are a bit of a mystery box behind them.
Surprise.
And I think, yeah, that would sit me on the fence a little bit, but it's not something that I would completely disregard. And the possibility when we do hit the higher tax bracket that I would invest to see how that went. But I think it's a great idea all around.
I mean, obviously, I'm not the ICP, but the idea of spending $500 a month and not quite knowing what I'm going to get is kind of like the Forrest Gump box. It's kind of a little bit peculiar for me. But like I say, I'm not the ICP.
Return the items if you don't like them.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Vanetta. Great job. Okay, so we've got Michael and Lucky to bring us home. So over to you guys. You got your 5 minutes, and obviously the 5 minutes of reflections with the panel. Okay.
All right. Good evening, everyone. This is Heir Trust, and simply what we just do is ownership continuity for people who have assets digitally and physically also. So what we plan to do is to help people transfer their assets digitally in a way that is really not just sustainable but trackable. So currently, if you look at the markets where it goes to about investing, and a lot of people have a lot of digital assets, right? But how do they transfer them? If you've got crypto right now, how are you going to transfer it to your next generation? And that legacy is what we are protecting with blockchain technology. Using blockchain technology, we can make this transparent. Please, next slide. We can make this transparent. We can make this very easy to understand. It can be simpler as, in comparison with the originally established system of using, property lawyers or, inheritance, legal systems that help you transfer these assets. Without writing a physical will, you can transfer your digital assets anytime, without worrying about the human errors that can come into that. Sometimes some people could have, problems of the lawyers not being reliable or some sort of bribing and all of that. But with technology, we're going to make safe digital transfer of assets. All right. And some of the features that we're bringing on is using smart contracts. We make these rules to be unhindered, interoperable, and also transparent. So every person sees digitally what is written in this particular digital asset transfer. There's no like hidden stuff to it. There's nobody changing the documents or whatever. And it is cheap. So if you compare this process to the process of currently using a lawyer, you see how cheap this is. We're talking about, about £20, right? As compared to the many hundreds and probably thousands of pounds you've got to pay, depending on the kind of assets that you have. This is going to help a lot of people save a lot of money. It's going to protect people from poverty in the future. People who their parents have worked hard enough to earn a lot wouldn't get their properties, down the drain. Then it gives people the idea of a decent living, all right, and innovation. So you could see all of that as it aligns with the UN sustainability goals. Can you go to the next slide, please? All right, so our business model is simple. Our target markets are individuals. We're starting with students, schools, places where people use a lot of crypto assets, stocks, and stuff like that, especially things that will be going on chain. Right now, most assets are, looking to go on chain. I'm sure you guys must have watched the current, conference at Davos, and you saw how, protocols like Hyperliquid could allow people to create assets online, tradable assets. These things were not thought of before, but now it's happening. And we're thinking about decentralized organizations and platforms that could look at integrating with us. Also, we are also targeting, the already established, markets with asset transfer protocols. For example, a lawyer who is already helping with this needs to know how they can help with things like crypto. All right, and our business model is very simple, make it very cost efficient, with as low as $50 to $200 depending. And then we're talking about a B2C model. Even if our first, market, our first initial 100 users will be on a B2B way, but we tend to expand to B2C. Please, next slide. All right, so I'm a co-founder, I'm the technical guy, and my co-founder here, Michael, is the business guy. And we work together to make Heir Trust a place where people can trust, their assets transfer digitally and sustainably. Thank you.
All right. I have a little thing to add to it. Can you hear me, please? I've been having issues with my network.
Yeah, you're perfect, Michael. Crack on.
All right, beautiful. Lucky I've said everything. I'll just round it up with a story. In 2013, when someone told me about cryptocurrency, I delved into it, did my own research, and I went ahead and I bought some coin. I have to state the coin precisely, Shiba Inu. I bought some good number of Shiba Inu. I bought some XRP too. But over time in 2019, 2020, those coins that I bought appreciated in large quantity. I made good money, for real. That was when myself and Lucky, we got this idea. This money is sitting in my account. Nobody knows about it. My dad don't know about it. My brothers don't know about it. We just asked ourselves this question. If I drop down dead now, what will happen to this money that I have in my wallet?
Don't worry, buddy. We've recorded this. We'll send it to your brothers and to your father. Okay, they're gonna know it exists.
Yeah. So that was when we came up with this Heir Trust idea to bring this idea into reality, so that when anybody passes on both your crypto assets and also your digital assets, like your stocks you buy, your Nvidia shares you buy, different kind of shares, digital asset that you have, you could transfer them to your next of kin. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Now, I was going to ask a different person to lead out, but I can see Sajita is like absolutely dying to ask you the first question and give you a reflection. So, Sajita, what have you got with this?
Thank you. I appreciate this topic, and it's really important to protect the digital assets. But I have two questions. So it is very important to safeguard the digital assets and make sure that it is only being accessible with the trusted partners. So how do you cryptographically ensure that the assets are only accessible to verified heirs after triggering an event, while preventing premature access or permanent lockout if your service becomes unavailable?
All right, thank you so much. So we intend to use different cryptographic methods. One of them is to use zero knowledge proofs. So using zero knowledge proofs, we're going to make sure that people can sign ownership for this asset on chain and then be able to verify it, even much later. And we can have, set it up like a treasury where we set different permissions and different persons can sign at a particular entry level, and then to verify that this person has the rights to take this. So even if one wallet or somebody gets it's on chain, it's not actually on our platform, it's on an established blockchain. So it's a take like bringing down, things like Ethereum, and we tend to use something like layer 0, right, to make it interoperable, so it's on different chains. Even if one blockchain were to go down, right, you still have a copy of that on multiple blockchains at the same time.
Thank you for answering that. And what's your verification process for confirming a death or incapacity event? And how do you prevent both false positives and social engineering attacks against the trigger?
Okay, so we're going to be connecting with an identity provider. Also, we're going to be building an identity bridge where we can monitor people's identity before you get access to anybody. You have to verify your identity so we know exactly who is doing what. That's how we're going to make sure that we know, exactly who is trying to get access to this particular digital asset, and then only the people who are verified through our system will be able to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for those great questions. Really appreciate it.
Thank
All
you.
right. Our second judge, what do you want to bring to this?
Yeah, I had a question around kind of like your revenue model. So what you mentioned is that you are charging recurring fees in Heir Trust tokens. I'm just wondering what is because from my experience with crypto, tokens crash or can become illiquid. So what's your judgment based on not using like a stable coin like USDT versus using like your own token? Because from my perspective, there's like more risk involved with that. So I'm wondering, what's your perspective?
All right, thank you so much. So our tokens are not used for any other thing than just for paying transactions fees as for utility. So which means that people are just using it to make payments. It's not like a store of value. We're not pegging the value of anybody's assets to our tokens or anything like that. So even if we use stable coins, there's no difference. But what it does as a difference in the positive for each community member is that the more people use our platform, the more people know about those tokens. And we tend to empower community with the tokens so that they can feel part of something big, like the new digital economy where people can get their assets safe. A lot of people currently are not getting into crypto because they are scared. A lot of people have lost their wallets, especially when they have to deal with things like non-custodial wallets, which is probably the future of banking. A lot of people are scared of losing their wallets. How do they do? But if there's a system of recovering their assets, even to their next generation, where somebody has passed on, but they didn't know, they weren't able to talk to their family, like maybe it's just an accident or something, they will have a place where this system has been built to help them transfer these assets to their family members.
Understood. Yeah, I think from all the presentations I've seen today, it seems like you guys have like a real problem that you guys are like really like I haven't heard of. I understand there's a problem and there's a specific solution you're offering, but I think there's a lot of like I would say logistical like things that would need to be considered, like for example like legally, cybersecurity wise. So I think there is a lot of steps along the way that would need to be discovered, but I think is a great idea.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kasper. All right, Judge 3, bring us home. What's your reflection and question?
Yeah, I think it's an important problem that you're trying to solve. I had some questions on how you implement it. So is this only for people who are not using a platform like Coinbase? Basically, are you is this for folks who are managing their own crypto with the keys and everything they have stored in like their personal hard disk? Is that the target customer?
All right, thank you so much for that question. So along the line in our roadmap, what we plan to do is to integrate with even like centralized exchanges. So all your digital assets are tracked. So if a next of kin were to come, they could see some of your tokens you already have on Coinbase. And our goal is to have partnerships with these platforms so they can make an application to Coinbase. Since it is centralized, Coinbase can, after doing all the necessary verifications, and probably if they want to charge any fees, they can release those assets to that new person because there's an established way of identifying them as the next of kin for this person. And this can apply across many other assets that they could have. So they don't need to have to worry, because I might not need all my assets to be on Coinbase, because sometimes Coinbase might not even have those tokens or whatever platform, where I could keep them in different platforms and still know that there's one way to know all the assets I have, and my legacy, my next generation can also inherit from that.
And the mechanics of it, does the beneficiary need to have their own wallet, or does the beneficiary get access to the wallet of the person who has died?
All right, so how it could work in two ways, but how we intend to make it work right now is to get the beneficiary to come with their own wallet and verify their identity. Then these assets get transferred, to their own wallet. It's not like we are getting the private keys of these owners to store it anywhere, but they just know that this smart contract allows them to inherit, tokens from this person and stuff like that. And all of this is recorded on a smart contract, so they can verify to know what the person actually willed to them. Sometimes in the current willing system or way you transfer assets, people might not know exactly what was transferred to them. Sometimes there could be some loopholes, especially in countries or places where there's not enough data to verify some of these things. But if it is on the blockchain, everybody knows that if you go and verify the smart contract, you see how many things they are allotted to you.
And thank you for that. And one more question. So the smart contract, is that something that is tied to Heir Trust as a company, or would that outlive Heir Trust? So the question I have is, let's say I'm going to die in 50 years, and I'm wondering how to handle the inheritance of my crypto. And the question that I might have is, as a 1-year-old company, maybe you don't last 50 years. So does this solution last even beyond your company, or is it tied to Heir Trust, the entity?
All right, thank you so much for asking that question. So how we intend to build it is that it's not even necessarily majorly tied to, even currently, whether Heir Trust exists or not. You can go to the smart contracts. That's why we're using blockchain. Would have used, it's easier, right, to just use some Node.js backend and all of that to automate some of these things. But why we're going blockchain wise is so that it can be decentralized. That's the future. Everybody wants something that's transparent and they can also operate beyond our company. And since we are an asset company that looks at continuity, the basic idea is to make sure that everything is done in a way that it continues even after us as a company. So we know that there is a system for you to still get access to the smart contracts on chain. Once you know the smart contracts and you can go on chain and interact with it, you can do that. And we also, just to round up, we are also looking at partnering with companies who would also be like third-party verifiers. We'll use as data protocols to also verify some of these things, to also build trust. So as more people are coming here, it's not just us, it's also these partners. All right, we have this number of partners working with us to also verify all of this. Just like you have some exchanges that have their money on chain, they have third-party, smart contracts to verify all the assets they have on their chain to make sure that they are liquid. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate it. So, panelists, you've been amazing today, and I love the questions, particularly in this last one that you've brought out. It's been really good depth that you've brought to the event. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask you in a second which of these has been your favorite child today. Okay, well, just while you think about that, I'm going to ask each of those that gave a demo which has been your favorite demo that wasn't you. Okay, so each of you gets a viewpoint on this. Lucky, you get a view. Charlene, Vicky, Michael, and Vineta. So let's start with Vineta. Which has been your favorite demo that wasn't?
Do I have to justify why is it my favorite?
Always, Vineta. You have to be robust in your opinions, always.
I would say my favorite is Vicky's and Charlene's.
Is that because you're seeing them later and they will beat you up if you don't say
No, because like me personally, I don't know that much about crypto and all that field, but I really think what Vicky and Charlene is trying to do is really good. and it's gonna help overall society, kids, and yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks, Vanetta. All right, Vicky, if you say Vanetta's been your favourite, I'm going to know it's conspiracy here, okay?
No, because then Michael will hunt me down. Then we will. I'll get a message later. Like, in all honesty, I think it's really difficult to decide because I'm really intrigued by crypto, but I'm a female and we love fashion, and this is so difficult.
Okay, so that one's more relatable for you, right? That's what you're saying.
I would say Vanetta's is way more relatable. I'm really intrigued by what Michael and Lucky are doing, and I really wish that a part of my brain had the capacity to understand crypto, because I think they were both really phenomenal. But I do relate to Vanetta's that little bit more. Well, a lot more. So,
in this case, I'm going to Michael. Michael, who was your favourite demo that wasn't you?
All right. Vanessa has been awesome, but I have to go with Sheila and Vicky because we've had this discussion and I've been able to see through their eye what the problem they're trying to solve. So many people go through a lot of things here in the UK, so they're really doing a phenomenal. I love the idea. So I'll go with Vicky and Shirley.
Okay. Lucky, what do you say? Who's been your favourite demo that wasn't you?
All right. So to be honest, I think I would go with Vineta. The reason is because I think she has a very, very good heart. She has a good cause. The only bottleneck would be thinking of how to, get good prices for it. But I think it's a very good cause. Like, most times in the world, people don't try to solve hard problems, right? We all go for the ones that are most profitable. Sometimes some people have to solve the hard problems. And sometimes those problems become, monumental. It might cost a lot at first, but over time it becomes useful. And I think maybe it doesn't apply to everyone. It might apply to people who can afford it. So I think, it makes sense to try to want to do that because many people might not. I think it's quite unique.
Okay, thanks, buddy. Charlene, bring us home on this before the judges tell us what their favourites have been. Who's your favourite that's not you?
I was going to say exactly what Vicky said because it's like, Mike, I can't tell you how many times Michael's tried to explain this to me. and it's like literally, it's like it looks, the presentation was great, it's so slick, but I just like my brain just doesn't get it. And I think it's a me thing. Like Vicky said, we're just like figures, it's a whole thing. Whereas I totally relate to ethically sourced and sustainable fashion. It's like, I love fashion. So that is, so hands down, immensely relatable. But also I think the presentation demo that Michael and Lucky did was phenomenal. So
you're saying they're both your favourite children. That's what you just said, okay?
Always, you can never pick a favourite child, ever.
Okay, there's a burning building for these judges, right? There's a burning building, and you've got to pick one of these two children.
Myself. It's fine.
No. Okay, so let's go for a non-Netflix answer first. Who's your favourite child out of these three?
It's a hard one to choose, but I think Role Resolve was the one that spoke to me the most. I think it was a close call. I also like the idea of Heir Trust, but I think it's an important problem to solve. But like some other folks have said, I'm not as familiar with crypto, so I don't know how feasible it is, and what I feel like a lot of the devil is in the details and how they actually implement it, make it secure. So that's how I feel about Heir Trust. But yeah, overall, I felt like Role Resolve, there's a clear problem that you're trying to solve. You have the right people in the role to solve that problem, and I think you have an innovative idea. You're trying to start small, but I think there was some ideas discussed here on how you can scale it. So yeah, all the best to you.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Kasper, who's your favorite child?
I'm putting my eggs into the Heir Trust basket. So I think that is like from all of the presentations, which again, all of them were great. I think it solves a solution that I think is in very much alignment with like how I see like financial systems changing in the future, which I don't see like a particular solution for. I think I was between Role Resolve and Heir Trust. Role Resolve, I think you have a quicker like go-to-market strategy. but then I think I see a higher ceiling for Heir Trust, with some kind of like some of those like legal and logistical complications. But I think, you know, just taking into consideration the future, I would take into consideration Heir Trust.
It's a real split points decision kind of evening. Okay, thank you for that, Kasper. Sujita, bring us home, break the deadlock. Who's been your favorite child?
So tonight all the presentations were great, and those are very fantastic ideas. But I think I vote first for Heir Trust because the problem is real and urgent. Billions in crypto assets are lost forever because owners die without passing on access, and the lawyers cannot resolve the private keys. So like the problem is very real, and it's a growing problem in crypto. So I would vote for Heir Trust, being like their answers, their dedication, and their passion for building this. And also like thank you so much for patiently answering all the questions. And
you probably greeted them, didn't you, Sujita? You really went there. So thank you for that as well.
Yeah. And you nailed it, actually. So your presentation was so great. And coming to role resolve, I really loved your idea as a mom and as a hearing many kids suffering with this autism, and this is really a humanity problem that needs to be dealt with, and you have everything aligned with that, and the scaling and everything is fantastic. So not if Heir Trust is not here, then like you would have been my first. Yeah. And yeah, Vinita, you were excellent, and you have been trying to solve the problems of working professionals, and this is a fantastic idea, and sustainability has a great future, and it's just starting that like no one has that much idea about this, and you have a wonderful, fantastic pitch tonight.
Thank you.
Look at that. Thank you for wrapping that up so well, Sujita. I really appreciate it. So we're going to say goodbye to everybody in a second with our traditional silly wave, but I'd just like to give extra thanks today to our panelists, our judges, who've brought the depth of questions that you have today. We really appreciate you being here and showing your support and nurturing these founders. They're going to go on to a competition at their own university in a couple of weeks' time, the Change Makers competition, and some of those are going to come out with some prizes. And I hope you feel like you've move forward from today, from the feedback that you've received from these experts. Unique lenses. They didn't know or love you before today, but I see some smiles here, and I think you've sort of really landed what you've been doing today with each of them. So thank you, panelists. Thank you, people giving the demos. And let's finish with our silly wave, and we'll call it a wrap. All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right, bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.